Hi, I'm Sherry, and this is Homeschool High School Helps Foreign Language. Now, before I go any further, please do not misinterpret what I'm going to be saying in this video. I am so for foreign languages. I would love to be able to speak several myself. That said, we have to really look at the practicality of this. Yeah. So in high school, usually they say, they want 2 years of a foreign language. That's doable. Colleges are usually looking for 2 to 4. Okay. Well, most of us are going to use a program, and we have used programs in my house. We've used the Learnables, we've used Powerglide, we've used French or German or Spanish in 10 minutes a day. There's another big expensive one that I did a review on, and the name is out of my head, but it all comes down to this. You can spend a lot of time and money and have a lot of frustration. And you may say to yourself, why? Why did we do this? Because your kid can't even say more than, say, the colors or the numbers or a few key phrases in that language. And the reality is, and I'm saying this because I've had it happen in our own home, the reality is, unless you have somebody who speaks that language around you all the time or for a lot of the time, or you're living in another country where you have to learn the language, you are simply just not going to retain it. The reason why you speak English so well is because, well, you live where it's English speaking. If you're German, and obviously the German would be easier than. Now, yes, the English language is becoming more and more universal. That's why you're finding most places are teaching their kids that, and I understand that. And I know Spanish is also one of the higher frequent I was trying to say frequent languages that is spoken, and I totally get that. In fact, my two older kids did do Spanish. My third daughter did German, and my son is pretty much done nothing, but he wants to start some Spanish. Okay, great. I took some French in high school, and I can tell you right now I can remember about 2 or 3 key quick little things and how to count in it. Okay? Now, public schools will also do it. My son-in-law took all 4 years of Spanish. I believe he said he even did it in college, and he cannot speak it. They can pick up a few things, they can read a couple things, but can they really? No, because he didn't have a Spanish-speaking person around him at all times, or for the most of the time, where he could practice his newfound skills. And that is what is key here. Now, if you have a child who wants to go on to college, most of them are looking for 2 to 4 years of experience in a foreign language. You have to check your requirements, and that's great. But like my daughter did about 3 years of Spanish in homeschool. She did some programs, and she also had a tutor. And then she went on to college and did about 3, possibly 4 years of Spanish. In fact, after the 2-year mark at the junior college, or community college they call it now, she was able to go to Oaxaca, Mexico for a month and live with a family and do truly an immersed type of experience. And she had difficulties at that point. She wasn't able to communicate successfully all the time. She got her point across, and she understood most of what was being said. But can she speak it clearly and fluently now? No. Why? Because, as I said before. So you really need to think about it. If grandma's living with you and she speaks German, then hey, by all means, start them young. I'm all for that. But to spend a lot of your time worrying and fussing over something like this, it's frankly not worth it. I know it's good for brain development to challenge yourself, and if you have a child who truly wants to learn the language and is willing to do the work, because it's hard work, it's not easy, go for it. Go for it. But in all practicality, it's one of those things where you say, is it always worth it? And you really have to think about this. I've had people, young people say to me, yeah, I got a minor in Spanish or whatever, and then you say, oh, that's good. Can you fluently speak it? Well, no, but I can understand it somewhat. And I'm like, well, if you got your minor in it, you should probably be able to speak it fairly well, right? I mean, am I off my rocker here? No, I'm actually on my rocker, but Am I off my rocker assuming that by the time you're done with these courses, you should be able to speak it fluently? I don't know, probably because unless you have that daily or weekly experience of speaking it, it's going to be hard. Now, yes, there's ways you can get around this. You can listen to books on tape where it's in the foreign language you're learning. You can try and seek out communities in and around you where you have, like, maybe your area has a high Ukrainian type of population. Maybe there's places you can go and you can hear the language, because learning it on a book or in a tape or whatever and actually hearing it and experiencing it, how people really speak it, are two different things. So you can be very bookish in how you learn it, but you can also learn the practicality side of it. Like, all right, say you're in the military and your family's going to, well, Germany, and yeah, you should probably know how to speak some very key phrases. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn that, but do you want to spend all that time and money for 4 years of their career in high school to get probably, the alphabet and the counting correct? I don't know. This one is so individualized. I just can't even really express my feelings about it, but I'm going to list down below some of the ones that we have used, the programs, and they're all good, but they're only good to the point of where you're going to take that and then now you're going to use it in real life. And that's the hard part. So you're going to have to go the extra mile, find people who speak that language, who can give you the ins and outs of the daily. Because, like, a lot of times you'll say something and it's so bookish, and they'll be like, I have a lot of experience where I've had people speaking. My sister-in-law is actually Brazilian, so she speaks Portuguese. And when she first came here, yeah, she was speaking more bookish. There's a truck. Moving along. It was definitely choppier, and it was definitely more of a bookish type of speech that she would give, and until she started hearing the way we speak. And even in different regions of the United States, you've got a totally different way of how people will speak, how they will throw their sentence structures together, what words they'll use. Okay, and it happens in other countries as well. So I'm not saying don't do foreign language. I'm just saying make sure your student is truly, truly interested in giving it their all, because it takes a lot of work and effort. Now, my daughter really wanted to learn German, and I got a Powerglide. No, what was it? I'll put it down below. That we were able to review, and we unfortunately got it in her senior year, so it wasn't like we could spend a lot of time on it, but she can pick that up at any time and go back to it. I was trying to do a little bit of Russian, because at one time we thought we were going to be adopting, and the areas that we were looking into were Russian speaking, so okay, and I can get a couple sentences, and I was getting okay on it. I just borrowed something from the library. Check your library. They have programs, the big expensive ones. And my sister-in-law, who is a librarian, said that some libraries now have like a foreign language program or something that you can access through their website or something like that. Ask your librarian if there's something like that. I don't have the details. She told me a long time ago, and I've kind of forgotten most of it, but there's ways of getting it in and not spending a whole lot of money, but then there's also ways where you're going to have to, put some change out there, and even if you're buying used. So my youngest, he said he wants to kind of learn Spanish. I found a completely unused Spanish program in the unit last summer, and we're going to open that puppy up and see. He just listens to the CDs. It's going to be probably more like conversational and or getting yourself around countries that speak that language. That's fine, because that's probably the most helpful. But I also have people in our family and kids that I've spoken to, kids, they're in their 20s now, but kids that I've spoken to who have taken like 4 years of, like, say, Spanish, and they have their minor in Spanish. And I'm like, okay, but do you truly understand it? Can you speak it fluently? And they're like, I'm thinking, ouch, that's a lot of change for maybe not quite understanding it. So you need to really think about what kind of career they're going to pursue, and if it will be helpful, and if they have access to native speaking people. That is the best way to learn it and retain it. So that's the advice I can give you on a foreign language. I just wanted to shoot this up and get this on real fast. I'm these cottonwoods are driving me nuts, but um, anyway, that is all I can really say about that right now. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Again, foreign language is such a personal thing. If your student wants to learn it, by all means, find any way you can to get them to learn it. But to push a student who has absolutely no interest in it, you're just going to be wasting time and money and causing a lot of frustration and discourse between you and your student, because that is something where you really need to want to learn it. And Latin, I know a lot of people have a lot to say about Latin. I did try and teach my kids when they were younger Latin, and a lot of people are like, well, that's a dead language, it's useless. It is not. Most of the English language has Latin roots. Many other languages have Latin roots. And if they're going into anything doctorish, scientific-ish, they gotta know Latin, because they use Latin as a universal for all different kinds of things. So think about that for a minute. Don't poo-poo Latin. Yes, it's even on our money, pluribus unum. So let's make sure that we address those things there, and I can talk about it more. I just really want to get this video up. I have a giant bumble flying around my head now. And get this up for you so we can, keep the homeschool, high school homeschool, whatever helps going. I am discombobulated, and I will do an update video as to why, and we'll go from there. But anyways, foreign language, to do it or not to do it, that is the question, and that is totally up to you and your student. I say if they're interested in and they really want to do the work, great. If they're not, if they aren't going on to a college career here that needs this, would it be nice if everybody could speak another language? Sure. It's up to you, folks. This one is totally up to you. All right, I'll catch you later.